I'm here with Jerf van Beek, who is a Hawke's Bay Regional Councillor. Kia ora, Jerf, and thanks for joining me.
Yeah, welcome.
Jerf, it's good to see you sitting there on your property because a year ago, when Cyclone Gabrielle hit, your property looked a little bit different to what it does now.
Yeah, a little bit less silt right now through a lot of hard work, and yeah, we've been able to make the best of it. Finally, the sun is shining, and we've been 2023 has possibly been the toughest year of my life work-wise, and we just had no break, and we just constantly worked 6 days a week, full on, trying to rebuild our business. But hey, I'm sitting here now, relaxed, just about to go on holiday for 2 weeks, which we haven't done yet for this kind of stint. We're really looking forward to it.
Yeah, well-deserved holiday as well. Now, you're at your garage there. Your garage is to your left, where you tell me you're living at the moment. Now, on that day of the cyclone, it was a very different scene. Describe where you were and what happened when the water came.
So when the water came, when we were actually really aware of it. The cyclone actually, where we live, wasn't a real issue. We didn't have trees down. We didn't have a lot of wind. Power was out. Internet was out. Phone was out. But on 8:30 in the morning, we decided to go and have a look at the river, because we already had seen that actually there was some water coming over the stop bank, just overtopping, but only minimal. And so we were standing on our back door, and Carla, my wife, she pointed out to some water that is running through our property, and I said, "No, it's just been raining heavily." She said, "No, you better have a look again." And sure enough, it was just brown, angry water that came down the drive, and we knew that we were in serious trouble. So we gave ourselves 2-3 minutes just to gather any valuables out of the house, and then get into the car, and we made a plan to meet each other at our daughter's house in Hastings. After 2-3 minutes going into the house, grabbing a bag, putting one filing cabinet higher up just in case, and a few other bits and pieces. By the time we got back out of the house, the water on the car park was already ankle deep. By the time we got into the cars, it was already down to the floorboard, and we more or less raced out of the property with this sort of gulf of brown, angry water following us. And yeah, that was sort of the start of our flood, really. In 2023, February the 14th, neighbour had to be rescued by a four-wheel drive tractor. A whole lot of other people got saved by that same person. Which was quite a remarkable. We haven't heard much about that, but it would have been 14, 15 people that he saved out of their houses with his four-wheel drive tractor, big John Deere. But in the end, he had to stop too, because the tractor actually started to move sideways due to the current coming through the whole of the river. And where we are now, where I'm sitting right now, we would have had close to 300-400 mil of silt, just slush, and that was 2 days after the stop bank burst. And when we came back, we realised how serious it was. Water is one thing, but to have the amount of silt that we had was a second, and that really took a lot of the work, cleaning that silt off the property, out of the sheds, out of the cool store, out of the house, out of the garage. And if it wasn't for the 35 plus diligent volunteers, which were friends and people from our church, I don't think we would have actually got there.
Now, as you were racing away from the water with the water around you, did you think the worst? Did you fear for your life? And did you think that was it? Your property would be destroyed?
No, it's you don't really know. We've never been through a cyclone and a flood that is like this before. I've been in many floods in my life, because I was born on a floodplain. So we had at least every second year we would have a major flood coming through our farm, and we would deal with it because it was planned. Yeah. These floods were planned, so that they actually were taking excess water so that the towns and cities wouldn't be flooded. So I know exactly what floods are like, but I'd never had experienced it here in New Zealand. And so adrenaline, a bit of hype, all this is quite exciting, something totally new, and what are we going to find? What are we going to do? Trying to help other people. It's sort of the adrenaline that kicks in, and you don't really think about what the consequences may be. If we had been more realistic, we may even have stayed in the house and actually continued to actually bring goods up to our second story. Would have been a lot of hard work, and we could have saved a lot of nice furniture, goods, computers, filing cabinets, and the like. But of course, you don't know how bad it could be. So personal safety is most important. In hindsight, we would have had time, because it only got to about 150 mil of water in the house, and so that would have been safe enough. And because we've got large sheds around us, the flow through the house property wasn't so strong. Next to us, 3 hectares of apples got completely washed away, and it was very dangerous there. The flood was just racing through, and that's why post wire, everything just ended up in a heap at the end of the paddock.
Yeah.
So I think the best thing was to personal safety first.
Yeah. Well, we'll get on to the orchards now soon, but I remember I interviewed you a couple of days after the cyclone hit, and we were standing in silt that was so thick and so deep. But even then, I remember you were quite positive in your outlook. Do you remember that? And what gave you that positivity?
Yeah, there's 2 things I remember from that. Is you didn't have wet gumboots, you just had your town shoes on, and you looked completely out of place.
Yeah, I did.
But the outlook, things are what they are. I believe that these things are all for a reason, and we just have to make the best of it we can. We had so much help from people that to be negative would have really have impacted on them as well, and we just made it almost a party, an enjoyable experience to help each other, and I think we've carried it on right through. It's only now I've actually got I've got the flu right now. Now I'm starting to relax. All of a sudden, things are starting to break down a little bit.
Yeah. I
just had to keep on pushing to actually get things done, and I didn't have time to be sick, but now obviously I have. So I think it's what made it so positive for us was we weren't the only ones, and there was a lot of help being promised to come, but the help that was promised we already had from our friends and church family, and it was just absolutely great.
Yeah. Now, you did suffer quite a bit of damage to your orchards as well. Tell us how many orchards you've got, and what was affected.
Yeah, so we've got 2 blocks of our own and a large leased block just down the road, about 6 minutes from here, about 4K. Also in Twyford. So we lost on both orchards, we lost a combined of 10 hectares of apples, 9.5 hectares of apples, and half a hectare of cherries. They were completely wasted, and they had to be pulled out and put into a big heap and burned. The 2 major cherry cages we were able to save. Mind you, they were extensively damaged, and that has been the most work for us to rebuild. And I'm not sure whether you remember, but I said what we're going to do. We've got to rebuild better what we've done, what we're about to do, and that's exactly what we have done. So the orchards, the cherry cages that were still salvageable, we've actually built better cages from it. So hard to explain on a video how that works. but we've got better cages out of it. The pack house, we were able to, with the help of our insurer, and they've been fantastic. Another highlight for us. We've been able to rebuild a better layout, and we've put some additional capital into the pack house. And together with the insurance, we've actually been able to build a better pack house. We live now in our garage, which was a straw bale garage, and we made it into a small livable space, and it's absolutely lovely to stay in. And the house we haven't touched yet, apart from some structural work to save the house, so that if there was an earthquake or an earthquake, then the house would have been written off. So we had to quickly put some remedy in place, so that we actually could rebuild it, and that's where we're at now. So the next year, this coming year, 2024, will be the rebuilding of the house, because once again, it's a straw bale house. It's going to take quite a lot of work because it's all bespoke. I built it myself, and all the materials are quite unique materials. And so to rebuild that is not actually going to be that straightforward. But once again, our insurance is very supportive, and they understand what we had and what we would like to have. And I hope that it actually will be better as well than what we had before. There's a positive there. I'm only an orchardist, and I've got two left hands, and I built the house myself. So I often tell my mates that at least now it will be built by tradespeople rather than by an orchard hag. So that's another good thing that's going to come out of it.
And now, are your trees producing? Have you had any harvests yet? Are you?
Yes, there was a race against the clock to get the cherry cage closed up. Both cherry cages closed up, because right around all the netting that's on the outside was completely ripped out because the water went through, and the water's got debris in it, apples and post and wire and grass clippings and all sorts of, you don't believe what actually came through the flood bins, fruit bins. So all the netting was all being ripped out. We had two corners of the cages were completely destroyed. We had to rebuild. And so a race against time to close the cages off before the cherries would have colour on them, because then the birds are really attracted and they do a lot of damage. Almost impossible to grow a cherry crop in Hawke's Bay without any bird protection. And so we were a little bit late, so we couldn't get all the birds out. So we had a bit of bird damage. But any cherry that we produced this year is an extra cherry from what we thought we would be producing on when we had the day of the flood. We thought that was the end of our business, but we still managed to produce half a crop. The crop was light, not just only cherries, but also the early summer fruit, peaches and nectarines and apricots and plums. The early varieties were all light anyway. So that's an effect of cyclone, a lot of rain, a lot of overcast. And summer fruit loves heat. So we had half a crop, which was more than we expected, and we can't complain. Prices were good. The market was very supportive, so we can't complain.
And what do you think about the industry as a whole, the orchard industry? Has it rebounded? Do you think it showed its resilience?
Apple trees have been remarkable. We lost all of ours, and ours were leased out to a large neighbour. Apple trees have been quite astounding. How the situation they were growing in, with the amount of silt that they had around them, and how they bounced back, and the crops that they've got now. Excuse me. It's been quite remarkable. And so where growers have been able to save their trees, I think it's actually going to be quite good. We are, unfortunately, in farming and in horticulture at the moment, we're on a downward spiral of commodity prices, which makes it very difficult for all of us. Costs have continued to rise. The inputs, labour, chemicals, fuel, all have risen quite steadily, but our income hasn't. So that makes it very difficult. Special growers who want to rebuild their orchards and now don't actually have the income stream, it is actually going to be very difficult. But you will find that growers are very resilient, and they have partners which are called banks, and together we'll see that we get out of this spiral and be on an upward trend again of earning.
Now, just putting your regional councillor hat on, what is your view of how the rebuild has gone? And there's tremendous costs being faced by the councils, including your own. What's your view on that?
Okay, so I think our council, Hawkesbury Regional Council, has done an exceptional job in actually fixing the repairs that needed to be done on our flood scheme, so stop banks, and in a record time they were fixed. Now the question, of course, is going to be, what is our flood protection going to look like? I can't really answer that question yet. There's still a review in progress in what actually happened during the flood and the learnings of that. So we'll need to leave that process run its course before we really will know the answer. The cleanup has taken an enormous amount of money. Possibly could have been wiser spent in places, but it is what it is. The money's been spent, the work's been done, and it is really positive to hear that the new government will continue to support the regions that have been hard hit and still need additional cleanup and support in this particular area, and that's really great to hear. So we are by no means finished, but there's help at hand. So that's one good thing. Once again, councils, we're also struggling with rising cost, and as councillors, we're really struggling and trying to work very hard to keep the lid on that cost. And the ink is not dry yet what that will look like, but we're working very hard. Getting back to the core business, we need to fix our flood system so that in the future, when we have floods like these, that we're able to manage them rather than actually endure them.
And Jerf, final question: what do you have to say to all those people that suffered like you did and have had quite a difficult year? What do you have to say to them?
Yeah, it's for a starter, I can understand what they're going through. I think if you've gone through something like what we've gone through, I don't think life will ever be quite the same again. Mentally, it's definitely taken its toll, and so I would say think on the positive side. I've heard farmers say, I never want to go to another mental wellness being session. Just bring on the comedians. All I want is comedians, and I think there's a lot of wisdom in that, Yeah. Enjoy life. When the sun shines, go out there and enjoy life. The work always will be there. We couldn't stop during 2023 because we had a deadline to get the crop off the tree and have everything ready in time for that. But there are work always, the weeds and so forth. There will be another day that you can go and weed spray them or hack them down if you have to. But if the sun shines and the beach or the bush is calling, go for it. Enjoy while you can. Because things may happen that you don't know in the future. You might as well enjoy it while you can.
And your faith has helped you during this whole process.
Oh, absolutely. It's every day we understand that we are part of a total plan. We don't always know the answer of it, but it gives us the strength to continue, and also our church family and our own family. They've been so supportive and still are great help, and it's the benefit that you have of knowing a very large community. And that's one thing that came very clear, that those through the later part of the cleanups, that the marae and churches were able to push through and continue to give help when needed. where individuals really struggled because they had to go back to work and they just couldn't keep it up. But Mariah and churches were able to keep on giving, so and supporting, and that's why it's so important to be part of a community.
Jerf and Beek, thank you so much for your time, and enjoy your well-deserved holiday.
Thank you very much, and thank you very much again of reminding you coming with town shoes while we're in ankle deep silt.
I've learned my lesson. Thank you.